Smash, smash, smash. The words of a hatchet-wielding hitchhiking vigilante or murderer. This is the story of the hatchet-wielding hitchhiker.
Some of my content has mention of extreme violence, sexual assault, and/or other triggering content. Discretion is advised.
Hey everybody, we are switching things up completely today. That's why I have the laptop and she doesn't. I did the research for this one, and by research, it was watching the Netflix documentary, The Hatchet-Wielding Hitchhiker. There will be a ton of spoilers for that documentary, like the whole documentary. So go watch that first.
I have not seen it.
She hasn't seen it, so she's in my chair this time, figuratively. I'm actually still in my normal chair.
We should have completely switched chairs.
We should have, actually, yeah. So she doesn't know anything about this other than the trailer. I watched the trailer with her on Netflix, and she was like, that looks interesting. I thought it did too, and I just happened to watch it first. And so she's like, all right, maybe this time you do the research and you do the write-up. So we're going to flip the script this time, and hope you guys like it. If I get real close to my computer, I am actually blind, so just bear with me. That's why I got glasses on this time, is to hopefully not be right up next to it.
Right. I will say two things for advice. One, I mess up all the time, so you're good. You don't have any expectation at all. I mess up and I just keep it in.
I'm hoping you're going to save me in editing. Because you're still, we didn't flip the script that far. I can't edit like you do.
That's true. I will try to save you, but I keep all my mess ups pretty much in because it's more authentic that way. We're just your besties. We're just chilling.
We really kind of do this in one take.
Yeah.
We don't, I mean, there's some cuts here and there, but for the most part, we do one take.
Mm-hmm. And two, you said go watch the documentary if you want to. If you just want to hear it from us.
If you just want the Cliff Notes version and our opinions, which sometimes our opinions end up being just as long as the documentary, but hey, maybe you want it in podcast format.
Or if you're like me and is watching the new season of You and don't have time.
She does love that show.
It came back and I'm super excited about it. So that's all I've been watching.
See, and that's, I think a lot of true crime fans like you, and I haven't watched that one. I haven't gotten into that one or anything. But another one true crime fans like is Mindhunter, which is where I'm the one I love. And there are rumors that the director is ready to come back to it and that they might actually redo it. So it's all rumors, but man, I'd be up for it.
Yeah. Let me also give a quick plug. If you guys like this format and you want to see Drew do more research and you don't want me to have to do any research.
I don't know if you can hear me whispering no, but no.
Fill the comments below so that I don't have to do the work.
I can only, for some reason when it comes to, like, I like watching true crime, but the research part is, for me, is kind of, I don't know, almost like tedious, I guess.
It's daunting.
That's just how I am with it. And so if I'm really interested in a case, like really, and it's usually for me, it would be more like kind of rock star celebrity kind of thing would be what I would get more interested in. Then I will actually have the motivation to dig into it further. But yeah, when it comes to doing just regular everyday cases, which is sad that these are everyday cases, but when it comes to doing the ones that you do, I don't think I can deep dive quite as far as you can into it. So I can, but I don't know if I have the attention span for it. I'd put it that way, I guess.
Right.
I'll go, even on this one, I started going down different rabbit holes and I was like, how did I get here?
And I will also, as a quick plug, say this is not our jobs. This is our hobby.
This is, our hobby, our secondary.
Yeah. So if you really want to see more from us, like please subscribe, please watch, please recommend to your friends, because the only way that we're going to do this more is if we get the viewership and if people want to listen to us, if that makes any sense.
Basically, our day jobs get in the way of doing this because we don't get paid to do this, which is, is fine. We still like doing this with you guys. Mm-hmm. But at the same point in time, if we actually start getting paid for it, then I don't know. Maybe someday we'll quit our day jobs. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or tell us if we shouldn't quit our day jobs in the comments. That's fine.
Stick to your day job.
Stick to whatever you do.
Right. Okay. I am super excited because I watched this trailer. This dude looks like, I don't even know. I don't know if he is a bad guy, a good guy, a just pothead weirdo. I don't know.
Well, and that's kind of setting the scene. So I do think it's good to describe Kai. Kai is the hitchhiker in this situation.
Okay.
Again, the name of the documentary is The Hatchet Weidling Hitchhiker on Netflix. Check it out. It's your last chance before spoilers. Or don't, and just listen to us. So Kai is from, or at this point, I don't feel like Kai is really from anywhere. They at points refer to him as a nomad. Kai is the name of the Hatchet Weidling Hitchhiker. Of course,
his name is Kai.
Well,
like his name would not be Dave.
Well, see, it's interesting because his government name is not Kai.
Oh.
So we'll get there.
Okay.
But yes, he goes by Kai, and that, though, like you said, kind of sets the scene. Like Kai is so he gives this interview basically to a man named Jessup. And Jessup is going to be important in telling the story because Jessup is the main person who knows Kai. And so what happened here in Fresno, California is this was back in 2013. He was, there was a car accident where Jet McBride hit someone with a car. There are these two women, and he hit someone with a car. I didn't see in the documentary where they said if he actually hit like a pedestrian or if he hit a car. It kind of sounded like he hit them as a pedestrian. And then he, according to Kai, as he was giving the interview with Jessup, he was saying a bunch of racist things, pinning the woman against the car. He was saying things like all black people should die. Some really horrible stuff. And so then Kai comes up with the hatchet. And this is Kai's words, Kai's famous words, but he went smash, smash, smash. And that is a poor delivery, but that is what he said. And before he said that, though, on the interview, kind of what made him a viral sensation was he actually said something really cool and kind of profound. He was basically saying, no matter who you are, you're deserving of love. Mm-hmm. So he's like, before I get into what happened, no matter who you are, what you've done, you're deserving of love, things like that. And so people kind of were like, all right, so here's this homeless, because a lot of people assumed he was homeless, and it was correct that he was homeless. And he mentioned he came from Dogtown. So he is California skateboarder. That's why she's like, of course his name is Kai. Because he looked like he's been skateboarding and surfing.
And hadn't taken a bath in a couple days.
Yeah, hadn't taken a bath in a while. Shame. Yeah. So that's kind of setting the scene of what happened. So this whole story comes out of this incident and out of this interview. For some reason, Kai, you're going to find out more and more Kai was interesting. He was not what most people would do. He didn't really want the attention after that. He just was kind of like, Yep, I gave my interview, and then the other interviewers came up, and he was just like, no, I'm done. And so Jessup was actually the only one who had any contact information with Kai. He's the only one who had an interview with Kai. Kai just blew off all the other reporters and was like, I'm out. So, what do you think of Kai so far?
I'm very curious to see where this goes, because I'm still wondering, did he kill the guy? Did he just smash him?
He did not kill Jet McBride.
Okay.
He did just smash him, which, yeah.
Smash, smash, smash.
Right.
And then I also was
not smash kind of like in the other way people use smash, like the,
actual smash.
Blunt force trauma.
Right. I'm also wondering, like, if he was the only witness, if there's more to the story.
Right.
So I'm just curious. I think Kai, first glance, I'm like, maybe Kai is just a vigilante. Like, he really did see this scene, see this racist guy, and maybe he's in the right.
We'll find out.
So that's the side I'm on right now. Change my mind.
Well, we'll see, I guess. That's part of this is we'll see if it changes your mind. We'll see.
Do we get a full answer?
Yes, we do.
Okay, cool.
We do get a full answer. And it's probably not what you're thinking.
Okay.
So the Jessup, what he puts on the news is a short clip. Because it's the news, you don't have time to put a full interview on the news. But Jessup thought the whole thing was interesting, and so he put the whole clip on a YouTube channel. He put it on, he went to bed. The YouTube channel the next morning, that video had 500,000 views.
Is that going to happen to us?
I had in my notes, I hope that happens to us.
I am waiting for that moment. It's probably not.
I think we'd freak out a little bit. I think we'd be kind of concerned. We'd be like, what did we do? What was the thing that was different that we did that made it do that? And then we'd be...
Which is why Brandon Ferris says you don't want that.
Yeah, Brandon Ferris says, like, and if you guys don't know, Brandon Ferris is a YouTuber we watch a lot. And he said he's more of a comedy YouTuber, but he said it's good to just kind of build your channel like what we're doing and have a lot of awesome fans like you guys, because if you have a video that blows up to 500,000, those people come and go, but the people like you who actually watch our podcast, our YouTube videos all the time, you're the real community that sticks with us. So thank you for that.
Yeah. And good advice from Brandon Ferris.
Right, absolutely.
If you see this, and if you're watching, and we know that you are.
No, that's another plug for Taste Buds and Sal Volcano from Impractical Jokers.
Yeah.
And Joe DeRosa. Taste Buds is a great one too. We're gonna have a lot of plugs in this one.
Yeah.
I'm actually getting ready to give another plug.
Okay.
So this goes viral. And it's not just the original 500,000. Right? That's not the original 500,000 views. It actually goes to the other channels as it does in YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember, and I'm probably going to butcher the name here of this YouTube channel. Do you remember Schmo Yo Ho?
No.
You will, because you love it.
Schmo no ho ho show ho no?
That's why I was like, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right still. Sorry if I messed up the YouTube channel name, but when I tell you what the channel is, you're going to know it. So, Do you remember the Backing Up video that they turned into an auto-tune?
Oh, yeah.
Backing up, backing up, backing up.
Yeah.
My daddy taught me good. That one.
Yeah.
So this is a channel that does, takes like news clips, they'll auto-tune it, turn it into a song. They are pretty popular. They've done some pretty... they'll do YouTube clips too. They did one of our favorites is a guy that reviews food. And he did the Five Guys burgers and fries.
Yeah. Did they do also the one hide your kids, hide your wives?
Yep, the Lincoln Park one, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And so they've done a lot of the big auto-tune remix of videos, and they're a big huge channel. This video they actually did Kai. Oh. And I looked in the research of all this, and it's at 11 million views.
Whoo! What's that like?
So they're big time, even though big time on YouTube doesn't necessarily mean everybody's heard of them.
Right.
But they're on Spotify, iTunes, all that stuff. So, I mean, go check them out. They took Kai's interview, they auto-tuned it, turned it into a song. That's kind of their thing. And they got that out there, and that kind of made it go even more viral, right? 11 million views. People are like, what's the original? What's the full interview like? What actually happened?
Mm-hmm.
And so this got so big that even like Stephen Colbert talked about the clip, not the auto-tuned song, but the actual news clip. He talked about it. And at the same time, Jimmy Kimmel decided he wanted to get Kai on the show. So things start getting a little wild here.
So he's becoming famous without knowing he's becoming famous.
Right. That is the next step of this, is nobody knows where Kai is. Because Kai he doesn't have a home, but he also doesn't have a cell phone. It's 2013. He's homeless. He doesn't have a phone. Apparently he has an email, though. And the only one who has his email address is Jessup. So Jessup becomes the gatekeeper.
Okay.
So Jessup.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but did he disappear because he smashed a guy? Or did he disappear because he didn't want the fame?
Neither.
Or are we going to figure that out?
I think it's really neither. Kai is just was kind of a lot of people described him as a free spirit.
Okay.
I think Kai just went wherever the wind took him.
Gotcha.
And I think he was like, I just don't want to talk to a bunch of reporters right now, so I'm just going to go surf. He was just kind of like, whatever I feel like doing at the time, I'm just going to go do that.
Okay.
And so I don't think he was running from the fame, or
the law.
I don't think he really considered any of that. I think he just was, this is what I want to do in this moment, so this is what I'm going to do.
Okay.
Yeah, he is very, very in the moment, very free-spirited. So here comes the search for Kai. Everybody now wants a piece of Kai. And like I said, Jessup's the only one who has a contract with him, or contact, not contract. So this starts to kind of blow up because it got so viral that, and this is going to kind of blow your mind, even the producers of the Kardashians wanted to start a reality show with him.
Oh, you get that Kardashian money. You don't turn down that Kardashian money.
Well, it turns out that we'll get to that, actually.
Oh boy!
I don't want to give that part away just yet, because there's a little bit before. So Jessup wanted to be the one to kind of deliver these things to Kai. I think in Jessup's mind, he wanted to kind of gatekeep what was going on with Kai, and like he wanted to give all of these opportunities to Kai, but he wanted to meet with him, he wanted to interview him one more time, and he wanted to lay it all out for him and explain it to him. Jessup a lot of times kind of refers to Kai as a friend. So I don't know at what point the friendship started, but it kind of sounds like Jessup, it's kind of confusing because it seems like he wants to look out for Kai, but also he did want to get another interview. So like at the same point in time, I think there was a little self-interest, at least in the beginning, which I mean, it's his job.
Right.
Like a news editor is not going to be like, yeah, go ahead and don't take a second interview of this guy that we're the only ones who can interview him currently. They're not going to be like, yeah, just give up that information. So like his work was to interview Kai again. Like that's his job. Right. But I do think he actually liked Kai too. And so he went out and did a second interview with Kai. This one was a little different. Kai was, they kind of realized that, and they referred to him as a loose cannon, basically. He was kind of all over the place. One of my favorite things he said in the thing, he's like, how do you feel about being a viral sensation? And Kai just gets this look on his face, and he's like, what? I'm not a virus. He was like, I'm Kai.
Oh, Lord.
So, and it's 2013. Viral sensations they're not new, but they're not old either.
Right.
I mean, it's kind of middle there. And you've been homeless. He's probably not watching YouTube videos.
That's true.
I mean,
yeah.
So he had no clue what being a viral sensation meant.
I hope Kai is just this innocent, like, surfer dude.
We'll see what happens. How you feel about it at the end? Maybe I don't. You could feel that way at the end. That's still on the table.
Okay.
So the interview happens.
This is a great story, and you're doing a great job. Just wanted to let you know that. I'm so interested.
Kai's kind of all over the place too, and that's what makes it interesting. Is he is at times the guy who would give the shirt off of his back,
right?
And he's at times the guy who will just go on a rant and start cussing. So
same.
He's really kind of that's why people found him so interesting though. Is he's not just I don't know, he's not just there. He's you don't know what's coming next with Kai.
Gotcha.
So they found Kai. They did this second interview, and this is where Jessup laid out that the offers he was getting. Kardashian producers, Kimmel, all that stuff. So I don't know where our line is on monetization. So a couple times I'm going to probably toe that line a little bit, and you can edit it or bleep it or whatever. This one shouldn't be too bad though, I think. So when he told him about the Kardashians producers offer, and keep in mind, I'm saying Kardashian producers because I don't think the actual Kardashians had anything to do with this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the people that helped make the Kardashians. So it's not like Kim was reaching out to him. Like I don't think Kim might not even know who this guy is. But he lays out all these offers, and Kai goes, I really just want to go smoke weed by the bay. And so apparently he spins this pencil. They're sitting at a diner now and talking over some food. He spins his pencil. When it stops, he goes, yeah, I'm going to go smoke weed by the bay.
Oh, okay.
And he's just that's it. And it cuts to the Kardashian producer, which was hilarious. She goes, are you effing kidding me? He spun a pencil. And she's like, so Joseph tells the producer this, and the producer, and I don't know if this is just, joking. I assume this is joking and there's no way this actually happened. But she's like, tell him we will send him a limo full of weed.
Oh, I bet that would actually happen. I bet.
It could have. It's California. It could happen.
Right.
But at the same point in time, they never said in the documentary where a limo full of weed showed up, which I really wanted to know.
Right.
Kai, just seeing Kai in a limo full of weed is just like he would be the happiest person in the world, and it just seems like that would be such an interesting thing to see. Like that in itself could be a reality show. But he agrees. I don't know if it's the promise of weed. I don't know if he agreed. It's Kai. I don't know why he agreed.
Right.
So he agreed to that, and he also agreed to Kimmel.
Okay.
So, and the Kardashian and producers are like, hey, this can't hurt us. Like, go on Kimmel, get more famous, and then that'll help our reality show later. So they were all cool with it. So the Kimmel people go pick him up. They take him to a hotel on the Hollywood Boulevard Strip, right? Hollywood Boulevard, Walk of Fame, all that stuff. Really fancy, nice hotel. This guy says, so I guess first of all, the lady that was getting him to picking him up and getting him to the Kimmel show and getting him to the hotel had spent this whole time with him, and she basically handed him off to this other guy. She's like, hey, watch him for a few minutes it's almost like a kid. They're like, watch him for a few minutes while I go valet the car, right? We're in fancy. We got Kai, who is all over the place now in fancy Hollywood, basically.
This reminds me of Get Him to the Greek. I wonder if this is based loosely on that.
I don't know. I guess I didn't think about that. I mean,
because Russell Brand could be Kai.
Russell Brand could be a homeless skateboarder.
Right.
He could play that on a show. So she goes to valet the car, and the guy looks away for a few minutes.
Of course.
Kai pulls down his pants and starts peeing on Julio Iglesias' star.
Oh.
I don't think he cared who or knew who Julio Iglesias is.
I don't know who Julio Iglesias is.
I think he just had to pee. So we're on Hollywood Boulevard, and he does this. And apparently nobody saw him do that other than... And so the lady that was watching him this whole time came back and was like, I'm watching him all day. And you leave him with you, and he starts doing this in the middle of Hollywood. And the guy was kind of like looked ashamed. He's like, I looked away for just a couple minutes.
Oh my god!
So they get into the hotel, and Kai sees that there's a mini bar, and just loses his mind and goes crazy and just starts drinking everything. Like they said, like down in bottles of Jack. Like, I mean, he was so excited and went crazy with it, right? And then they take him to a fancy restaurant, right? They're in, the rich area now, and take him to a fancy restaurant. They says like got like cobblestone floor kind of thing. He skateboards into it. He gets kicked out of the restaurant. When he gets kicked out of the restaurant, Kai goes outside and is mad that he got kicked out of the restaurant. He takes a knife out of his bag and throws it down.
Okay.
So, all of a sudden, they're not sure what to think. Because during the whole time, they literally said, like, he saw somebody who he felt like had less than him. And he brought took his backpack that he had and gave his backpack to that person. So, Kai is really kind of an enigma. He 1 minute will literally give the shirt off of his back for somebody, and then the next minute will do something where you're just like, hey, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And
I'm
has some rage there too.
Yeah, that does sound pretty violent, but I'm sure like the skateboarding and the peeing and all that, I'm sure all of that made the public or these people want him more, because it's like
probably
what they can't have. Like when he's like, oh, I don't really care, I'll spin a pencil.
Yeah.
They're like, no, we have to have him now.
Right.
So that probably made them want him more. Now they're probably like, do we though?
Yeah, because like to them, like unique is good, right? They want something that's totally different from any other show that's out there. They were just kind of like, Kai is, he, like you said, he'll spin a pencil and make a decision. That's not something most people do.
Right.
So they knew that, if they can kind of corral him and get him at least to be able to be on a show, that would be a really unique show. It'd be something nobody else had. They also kind of described it as like a insight into a world that nobody really knows about, which is people who might actually be happy being homeless, things like that. Like, I think they're hoping for this situation where it was like Kai is happy that he's homeless and he's happy to help everybody, and I do think Kai was really giving and happy to help people. So I think they're hoping for the best case scenario, but also kind of like there's something else here.
Right.
And they're starting to realize more and more there's a little bit something else here.
Okay.
All right. So time for Kimmel, right?
Okay.
Wrong. The police show up.
You got me there.
The police show up right as they get him to Kimmel, because Jimmy Kimmel posted that he was going to be on his show, and the police are like, we've been looking for Kai.
Oh no.
And so,
no.
but they're only looking for Kai to get his statement and kind of really find out his involvement in the whole thing, kind of subpoena him because he's going to have to be a witness in the trial.
And this is for the incident that happened.
This is for the original
with
incident,
the
with Jet McBride. So
okay.
like this is all happening in the course of like days or weeks here. Like it's real quick, maybe a week. They didn't really go over time frame too much, but it was very quick. But the police were nice enough to get Kai back right before the show, 30 minutes before the show.
Oh, well.
So Kai still gets to go on Kimmel.
Okay.
But yeah, 30 minutes before the show, Kai was interviewing with the police, telling them what happened, and then getting dropped back off at the Kimmel show. Such a weird. Can't find Kai anywhere. Police can't even find Kai until he goes to the Kimmel show, and then they know where he's going to be.
Right.
And you got to imagine Jimmy Kimmel on the show, and everybody was like, you can take him, just get him back.
Yeah.
Bring him back to us.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have that kind of power, but I'm sure somebody said it.
They do, I'm sure.
All right. And so he goes on the Kimmel show, and Jimmy, they had a lot of, and these are people who worked on the show and maybe still work on the show. So of course they're going to say good things about their boss, but I think they were right in this situation. They're watching the clip and they're like, Jimmy is so good at what he does because Kai kept going off the rails so many times, but Jimmy kind of kept pulling him back in and kind of kept being like, Kai would make a joke where, it was like, would make everybody probably a little uncomfortable, and Jimmy Kimmel would use like self-deprecating humor and just be like, all right, back on track.
Right.
Because Kai he liked to, was very negative towards fat white men, rich fat white men. And Kimmel goes, I'm one of them.
Oh, okay.
So Kimmel was using that to kind of, diffuse tension, and he did a good job. I want
to watch the interview.
Gave him a surfboard and a wetsuit at the end of it, which Kai looked like he was the happiest person in the world. And Jimmy Kimmel was even like, you can give this away if you want to. You might give it away as soon as we get off the show, but hopefully you like it.
Right.
Because that was the image of Kai, right? He was the guy who was giving things away to everybody, and yeah. So after the Kimmel show, after Kimmel did a good job kind of keeping him, making him more popular because he kept those things that Kai was doing, he kept them kind of under wraps a little bit. And so Kai blew up on social media. Okay. Right? This is kind of 2013 is kind of the Facebook era. So it's not like Twitter might have been a thing, but I don't think it was as much of a thing. There's YouTube, obviously. That's how this all kind of blew up. But there wasn't TikTok back then. There might have been Vine, maybe. But it was really Facebook at the time. Past MySpace to Facebook, probably not fully to Twitter yet. So a lot of this stuff happened on Facebook. Started blowing up, and I forgot. All right, so I forgot something. I do have to go back a little bit in the story. When they were doing the second interview with Jessup, they were going to shoot some B-roll footage. So Kai, they're like, "What do you do? Like, what are some things you like to do?" And Kai's like, "Let's go into this music shop." So Kai goes into a music shop and picks up an acoustic guitar and just starts jamming. Like, actually not too bad. Like, he's not going to say he should have like a major record deal.
Right.
But he had a decent voice. He's a pretty good guitar player. I mean, and so they had that as B-roll. They put that out there. And so when he blew up, he even performed with, or at least did a social media song with Justin Bieber. Like, played with Justin Bieber.
That's crazy.
So that's how big he had gotten at that point, where even people like Justin Bieber are starting to notice him.
And 2013 Justin Bieber, too.
It's probably, he was probably, I don't know if it was top Justin Bieber, like as height. It might have been.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kai was blowing up on social media like crazy. Then the court case comes up.
Okay.
So here's where things get a little different. We'll pause right there. what do you
Okay.
think about Kai now? Like, things have changed a little bit. I'm starting to know a little more about Kai.
So I still think he's a good person. I'm not gonna think otherwise until you tell me, like, until you drop a bomb.
And she really doesn't know anything, so don't judge her opinions till we get
Right,
there.
yeah, don't I have no idea. But I will say I think there's some mental illness or something going on. There's some underlying thing here because I think what his persona in the media now is this very nice, because Jimmy Kimmel did a great job. I'm sure social media, we all know, paints the best picture of everyone.
Right.
But I think there's something underlying here that we're going to get to.
Yeah. So I mean, it's kind of like social media and media in general. We're kind of cutting out the bad parts of Kai and just kind of pushing them aside.
Yeah. I mean, kind of what I think of it as is like OJ's persona. You know, like we had this great football player, this great guy
who did commercials
and all this stuff, but then he might have been a murderer.
Right. Like he might have had violent bursts of rage and been abusive, but that part is not getting put out there.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, you have the same thing with a lot of these serial killers. Their persona in the community or, you know, to social media or whatever is very like Ted Bundy was a lawyer, you know, Gacy was a clown. Like you have these.
Don't bring back up Gacy. Come on.
I'm sorry. I'm salting the wound.
We had a whole discussion off camera about Gacy because I was like, so he was just a clown, but also a serial killer, and those were separate. He was never a serial killer clown. Like they never happened at the same time. And his victims weren't the, you know, people that he did clown shows, I guess. I don't know. Parties for. It was never them. And Sarah was just like, no, not really. I'm like, the media makes it look like he was a clown killer.
Yeah. But you have these personas and then this underlying very vicious, very violent thing. So I think we're getting that a little bit so far. But I still think he's a good guy. I mean, he hasn't, other than the smash, which we don't know what happened there yet, he hasn't done anything super, super violent.
Yeah, and the knife.
I mean, throwing the knife was not great.
It wasn't violent towards somebody, but it's still, if somebody throws a knife, I still would consider that a violent act.
Right.
Unless you're in like a, you know, axe throwing place. I mean, that's that's normal. But in the parking lot of a Hollywood restaurant.
And you're also mad. Like, there's something
anger,
there.
Yeah. Okay, so we're at the court case.
Okay.
So here's what comes out in the court case. It turns out that Kai had actually smoked weed with Jet prior to this incident.
Okay.
So he knew Jet before it happened a little bit. Like, Kai doesn't know anybody for more than 5 minutes. Like, he literally probably got picked up as a hitchhiker, smoked weed with the guy. That was probably his only interaction with Jet, I'm guessing.
Who picks up a hitchhiker and shares their weed with them?
I don't know. Maybe that was his...
Maybe they did.
Maybe that was his offer to get picked up. He's like, hey, man, I'll share my weed with you if you give me a ride.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think a lot of people who smoke weed are sharing their weed with anybody. But maybe that's just me. I don't smoke weed, so I don't know.
Right. So, Kai kind of knew Jet. I don't want to say he knew Jet. Like, it wasn't because he referred to Jet as fat, rich, white guy.
Oh,
is how he referred to Jet too. So he really didn't sound like he had a really high perception of Jet too, which I think to Kai, a fat, rich, white guy is literally anybody who is not homeless, basically. And I'm not putting Kai down in that way. I just like Jet doesn't look like a rich guy. You know what I mean? Like I don't think Jet was necessarily bad off, but I don't think he was necessarily well off either. I think he was just kind of a middle class kind of guy.
Okay.
That was just my perception. I don't know any facts behind that, but just looking at Jet, that was kind of my thought. Excuse me. So also it comes out that, oh, sorry, I put this in my notes too, and I was like, it was kind of like, what were they smoking? Because they said at one point that they thought they were ghosts. So
Okay.
whatever it was had them feeling a certain way.
And this was right before the wreck?
This was right before.
Okay.
And somewhere it got mentioned that like maybe they thought like, or maybe they thought or had said, or Jet had thought or had said that he was like, oh, I could pass right through these people. So I don't know.
Okay.
I don't. Jet was definitely high when this happened.
Okay.
And so was Kai. And
he's still racist though.
Yeah, so that's the next part that comes in. So I mean, Jet basically thought he was Jesus. Like was saying things. Well, no, I mean, I think he was actually saying that he was Jesus.
Oh. Okay.
And he was saying that he hated black people, that he thought all black people should die. And he got out and pinned one of the women against the car and started beating them. Right? So that's where Kai comes up with the hatchet. He hits him twice, hits Jet twice in the back of the head to try to stop him with the blunt side of the hatchet. So the back of the hatchet. Where
did the hatchet come from?
Kai had it. And
he just carried a hatchet.
Which people were kind of like, I didn't think much of it because we're kind of like, if you're homeless, like maybe you just need a hatchet to protect yourself in case somebody tried to attack you.
Or to, you know, like, kill an animal. Or
right. Or save somebody on the side of the road, I guess.
I guess so.
He hit him twice with the back of the hatchet, but then the last time he flipped it around and used the sharp side.
Okay.
But the pictures they showed kind of look like, I don't know if he actually, I don't know where he got him with the sharp side. I was kind of curious about that, but they didn't really say. Like, they showed that he had a pretty nasty cut in his hand on his finger. He had a cut in the back of his head, but it wasn't like, I don't know how Kai did it, but it didn't seem like he. I mean, I can't imagine you hit somebody with the sharp side of the hatchet and it doesn't leave a huge damage, like a huge amount of damage, but Jet didn't have the amount of damage you would think from somebody who just got hit with the sharp side of a hatchet real hard.
Gotcha.
So maybe Kai went a little lighter with the sharp side. We don't know. I'm just going off of pictures on that.
Okay.
So
dang, he really, I mean, he did smash, smash, smash.
Right. And so this is, now we're finding out a little bit more of the story about Kai, but it's still kind of confusing because he still was like, hey, that's not cool. Like, you're this big guy beating up these women, hitting these women with the car. Like, I'm going to stop you with a hatchet. He smoked with the guy beforehand, so he's not totally innocent, but at the same point in time, he didn't do any of the violent things until the guy started attacking them. So it kind of just gets to this point where it's kind of like, was he more involved than we know?
So were they together at the time, Jet and Kai?
Yes, but like I said, they don't really go into the how together they were at the time. Like,
gotcha.
I don't think Kai was necessarily in the car when Jet hit them. Maybe he was,
because when I first came into this, and still I was kind of getting this picture that he was just this witness, like he was just walking by.
That's how everybody got it originally on the interview.
Yeah,
is he was just a witness, just a passerby, and was like, I'm going to help these people. And so that's part of why he got so big, is because it was just a good Samaritan. So it turns out he was more involved than just a good Samaritan.
Okay.
But Kai still had his fame, right? Like, this wasn't enough to stop the fame. It wasn't enough to stop the train of rolling of social media and viral sensation and all that. So he was still even getting music gigs. And he had a gig with this band called the Redcoats. I don't know this band.
I don't either.
Never heard of them. Sorry, Redcoats. I just maybe you're not my music scene, I guess. I don't know. If you guys,
Coats, please comment below.
Yeah, if you guys have, any of you have listened to the Redcoats, have an opinion one way or another, feel free to share it in the comments, but I have not listened to them. They sounded like good musicians on the thing, so maybe they're good and not many people know of them. Or maybe they are popular and I'm just not with it. I don't know. The singer kind of was like, he's kind of like, yeah, he's all right of a musician. Like he's basically like a, guy that would be playing a guitar at a campfire.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, he's got a good voice. He's, he's not a bad guitar player. Like he kind of, like he was just basically being like, he's not the next, who am I? Ed Sheeran. He's not the next Ed Sheeran.
Gotcha.
Is kind of how he was putting it. And then basically, so he was saying he wasn't that great, but the reason why they did the show with him is they wanted Kai's crowd.
Mm-mm.
So Kai, because he was a social media celebrity at the time, was bringing in bigger crowds. And so they're like, yeah, we'll do a gig with him because we want people to know who we are, like for coming out to see Kai, and then they see us and they follow us too.
Mm-hmm.
So they agreed to do it. But then kind of, during sound check and everything, he bragged, according to the lead singer, he bragged to the lead singer and the rest of the band that he had actually laced the joint.
Okay.
So, and he also at the end of the night after his gig and everything got kicked out of the bar for pissing in a bush.
This dude needs to pee in a urinal, dude.
That's
find a toilet.
That's why I keep putting that in the notes, is because I know you're going to get annoyed with the fact that like he just drops his pants and goes to the bathroom wherever. And the bartender, or not the bartender, the bar owner was kind of like, "You're not going to disrespect my bar like that. You're done. You're
not going to disrespect my bush like that."
Right. But
I really thought you were going to say
this. I think this is important to know. I haven't noted later, but I'm going to go ahead and mention it now. The toxicology on Jet, and I believe they got tox. I don't know if they did a tox on the marijuana itself, but did not come back with anything that was laced.
Interesting.
So Kai may have just been bragging and saying I laced it, but he really didn't.
Right.
But so at this point, there's kind of some questions starting to pop up, right? Like, did he lace it? Did he not? It's kind of weird to be bragging about lacing it if he didn't.
Right.
Or is this,
and what do you lace it with?
And I don't know the singer. Is the singer, not to throw shade at someone I don't know, but I don't know the singer, how, like, nobody fact checked the singer, I'm sure. Like, right. Did he say it? Did he not say it? Maybe this is just anecdotal. I don't know. But it was said by the singer, and I do think it's important just in case it was laced. Because, I mean, smoking weed generally doesn't make you do all the things. I mean, it can, I'm sure, but it usually doesn't make you do all the things that they did and think all the things they did. I'm not a weed smoker either, but like that's kind of far out for what I've known of people who do.
Yeah, because you're thinking on both sides too, like with, is it Jet?
Jet, yeah.
Him doing all that he did. And then also Kai, that's an impulsive thing to just pull out a hatchet.
Right.
So was it laced for both of them? Like, yeah. No.
Right, and that could have affected their behavior on the day.
Right.
Could have affected his behavior on the interview, too.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know, though, because the tox didn't come back with anything. So either the tox missed it, like maybe there's just low enough levels it didn't pick it up.
Right.
But
something that it missed, too.
Right. Something it didn't screen for. Yeah. So fast forward a little bit more, not much more, but so Kai now has a Facebook. Obviously, he's a big social media person now. He has an angry Mother's Day message, and I'm going to try to read more of my notes on this one to try to get it right. So on the angry Mother's Day message, he said when he was a kid and this is paraphrasing, but he said that he used to get locked in his room, locked in a room. It didn't say in his room, but in a room. And when he would say bad things, he would get soap and hot pepper in his mouth, things like that. he had told Jessup that when he was during the hitchhiking part of his life, he actually had gotten SA'd by an old man at one point.
Okay.
He said that when he was a kid, that he was locked in a cage and treated like an animal. And then it kind of cuts to his cousin. So this is where the family's starting. The actual family of Kai is starting to see all this viral stuff, and they're like, "I know that guy."
Yeah.
So Kai's cousin said that his actual name is Caleb.
Okay.
So this is the first time we hear that his name's not Kai. He said that he was his first cousin, and this is actually in Canada. So I don't know if it doesn't really say it, but I don't know if Kai originally. It sounds like Kai was originally from Canada and kind of migrated down to California.
Okay.
He said that he was really locked in a room a lot of times, and said that even at one time, that cousin was locked in the room with him. So he basically was confirming that it happened. Basically, Kai had some issues as a child, and even at one point set a fire in his house and got sent to a boarding school. I think, I can't remember what age they said they sent him to a boarding school. I didn't have that one in my notes. I think it was fairly young though. Like, wasn't like I want to say, I'm guessing it was like middle school age is what it seemed like.
Okay.
And he also said that he had a short fuse, which we already kind of figured with the throwing a knife and stuff like that.
Right.
But overall, like I said, he was a pretty happy kid and, a pretty kind kid. So then they interviewed the mother next. And the mother, she denied locking him in a room, but then she kind of said that she basically, what would happen was, she's like, Kai would get up before she would, and he would get into trouble, and he would do things that he wasn't supposed to. So she didn't say she locked him in the room to keep him safe, but she kept him from getting out of his room when he would wake up in the morning to try to keep him safe.
Okay.
So the way she was painting it was that she was doing it to keep him safe. The way Kai paints it was they were doing it to go do whatever they wanted to do, and they were horrible people. And the cousin kind of
painted it that way
too. So take that for what you will. Maybe if you're believing the mom's side, maybe she was just trying to, keep Kai from getting hurt. I mean, you don't want your kid roaming free if you're asleep and like they just wake up in the middle of the night and do something they're not supposed to. Like I get that, especially if your kid has maybe some behavioral issues where they're actually doing harmful things. That's more. At that point, you're kind of like, gosh, man, that's a hard situation.
Yeah,
like,
what do you do?
Am I mad at the mother for doing that, or am I not? Like,
right.
But if Kai's version of events is correct, and he was just being locked in there so that they could do whatever they wanted, and they just wanted to lock him in there and treat him badly, then that's obviously terrible. So whichever version of events you believe, this obviously had a big impact on him.
Right. And I will say, like, I'm not an expert, but I've done a lot of child research and I've taken a lot of child abuse courses. And I will say that a lot of time our trauma is perspective. Both could be right.
Right.
She could be locking him in there to keep him safe, and his perspective was, I'm locked in here.
Right.
And I do see that it both could be right, but I also see like his behavior as you look as an adult is someone who cannot regulate. They don't know their emotions. They are very impulsive. They are very flighty. That sometimes comes from abuse. And it could have been that she was doing it on purpose and it was abuse. It could have been he put that internally as abuse and it came out that way. But it does make sense. Like, if you look back at his childhood and then to what we get now.
Right.
You're getting someone who cannot regulate themselves at all.
And that's a great perspective. And I can vouch, she knows a lot in the child space, child psychology, she's seen her take so many classes on it. Like she claims to not be an expert, but she does know a lot. And that is really good. And we're not in the business of telling people how to raise their kids, but like, I think that's where communication is important with your kids, because like you said, if he thought it was abuse,
right,
and she thought it wasn't abuse, then there's something wasn't being communicated in a way that Kai understood it.
Right.
Where he needed to know if this is what was happening, he needed to know that he's not being locked up because he's in trouble.
Right.
Kind of thing. It's, like a safety thing. And
if you have a kid with a behavioral disorder or autism or something, they cannot understand that.
And it's so much harder to communicate.
It is so much harder to communicate on both ends.
Right.
So, she may have tried. There's just a lot of things we don't know.
There's a lot of variables.
Yeah.
But I think you hit the nail on the head when you basically said that Kai may have not understood what was being done to him.
Yeah. That's what
or maybe something was actually being really done bad to him also.
Right. It's very interesting for me to look at crime and then also look at trauma, because sometimes they don't mesh. You think of crime as being so black and white. There's right and there's wrong. There's a perpetrator and there's a victim. When you look at trauma and when you're trauma informed, you see that trauma is perspective.
Right.
There may not always be a right and wrong answer. There's a way to cope and to get through it, but there's so many things that aren't black and white.
Right. And
to mesh crime and trauma together is very difficult, to figure out who is right, who is wrong, and how to, basically like go through with the law on that end.
Right.
And it's very interesting to me.
And when you're so many people that are involved in true crime and committing true crime or committing crimes in general have trauma from their childhood, because that's when you develop, right? And so if you have a traumatic childhood, it messes up your development, and that's how you turn into an adult, is with you go through that trauma as a childhood, you're going to have that the rest of your life. Right.
And I mean, in a lot of cases, there's right and there's wrong, to abuse a child is wrong.
Right.
But there's so many lines and so many blurred things in between that I think a lot of people don't understand either.
Yeah.
They think, well, any form of abuse is abuse, but there's a lot that we just don't understand.
And we've said this before, this doesn't excuse what a child who is abused as an adult does.
Right.
Like yes, having trauma and all of that as a child is awful, and you would hope that our mental health system would actually catch that and would help these kids.
Exactly.
We would really hope that, but if it doesn't, and if they grow up to be somebody who is violent and hurts somebody else, it can't excuse that.
Yeah.
Right? Because the person who got attacked, in this case, the woman who got hit with the car, they never say her name. I don't want to find her name, say her name, or anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't think she probably wants to be known in this case. She was the victim of it, and she didn't, from all accounts, she wasn't doing anything wrong. She was just literally existing and got attacked by this crazy man in a car with another crazy man with a hitchhiker, or with a hatchet, who attacked that guy.
Right.
So she now has trauma from that situation, and that's not okay. She wasn't doing anything.
Right.
So yes, just because they had trauma doesn't excuse what happens as an adult, but it is important to know, because it does kind of make them who they are, and hopefully we can get better at actually helping people at a younger age so that they don't turn into this.
Right. I think that's really important to say, and I'm glad that you brought that up because a lot of podcasts I listen to, they say, you feel sorry for the child, you don't excuse the adult's behavior. And I think that's really important. Like, we pray for intervention. We hope that, the child gets the help that they need. But not all children who are abused grows up to abuse, whether it be sexually,
right.
physically, anything. So you pray for that intervention. You hope that it doesn't happen. But you can't excuse the adult's behavior because it's your responsibility to get help when you're an adult.
And I will say that's where I hope the mental health system gets better in America because it's not easy or cheap to get help. And so,
amen.
A lot of these people, it's not possible for some people in a certain
and he's
situation.
homeless. So, I mean, he's a great example of that.
Right. And it sounds like they grew up in Canada, so I don't know when he came over to the States. Maybe he had a better chance in Canada of actually getting assistance, but maybe he refused it. They don't go into any of that.
Right.
But still, yeah, I think that could have helped at the very least, helped him have tools to navigate the trauma he had.
Yeah. Sorry, moving off on a big tangent.
The mental health's a big tangent we go off on a lot, and it's a good topic because people really need to know about it and think about it.
Yeah.
I always am of the mind that we need to start looking at it like everybody can benefit from therapy.
Yes.
Like, you may not have major traumas like what we're talking about with Kai here, but even if you don't have major traumas, it's still good to have somebody to talk to and discuss what's going on in your life and help you actually understand it. Even if you're not in a bad situation, it's still good to have that person help you break down your life into a way that you can actually process it better.
Yes.
So here is where we're going to. I hope you're ready for this because this is gonna take a 90.
My mind's gonna be blown. I'm ready.
A 73-year-old attorney, Joseph Galfie, from New Jersey, was murdered in his house. We feel like we're on a different case, don't we?
I do, yeah. All right, who did this? Are we talking about the Night Stalker?
Nothing was stolen, no forced entry. Under his laptop was a note with the name Lawrence Kai and a phone number.
Did Kai do this?
There was a train ticket found and a video of likely Kai with Joseph at the train station.
Okay.
So I say likely Kai because it was a very blurry, and I don't want to. They kind of painted it as like we don't want to commit to. This was the police talking at this point. The people investigating this attorney's.
When did this happen? Was this before the incident?
This is after. This is like after. three months after.
3 months.
Yes. So Kai's been famous for 3 months this whole time.
Okay.
So, and this is the police discussing the case, show the video. It's pretty blurry. This is a, 2013 security camera at a bus station. Like it's not
Might
very
as well
good
be
quality.
Mars.
Yeah. So they think it's probably Kai, but I don't think they want to fully commit that we know for sure it's Kai. I saw the video and it looks like Kai, but, so they went looking for Kai. So Kai posted a very, very graphic Facebook post about waking up and having been SA'd by an older man. He describes tastes. He describes his face, like he describes a lot of things. If you really want to look up the post, you can, but I don't.
Did they talk about it in the documentary?
They do. They actually do the whole post in the documentary.
Okay.
It's very graphic.
Okay.
so I'm trying not to. This is where I'm walking the line of monetization too.
I gotcha.
I don't want to get this demonetized, but I'm trying to also paint the picture that it was a very graphic post of what sounded like what he was saying what happened, and at the end of it, he said, "What would you do?"
Okay.
And this at this point, it's it's on the news that the police are looking for Kai. Kai probably knows that the police are looking for him now.
Mm-hmm. So I'm confused here. What you talked about earlier that he was essayed by an older man.
This is a second time.
The second time.
Okay,
person. So a different person.
Yeah. So the first time it happened before he got famous. This time's after. So it's happened to him before. Which we've talked about trauma. These are both traumatic events too.
Yes.
Now there's question, and we'll get into this more, but there's question on really whether the second essay or whether this essay happened or not. Kai's version of events, they did. The prosecutors, they didn't.
Okay.
Right. So, or not necessarily that they didn't, but that it wasn't. I don't know if they said that it didn't, or if they said it couldn't be proved that it happened, or how that necessarily went, or if they said that doesn't excuse what happened.
Okay.
But we'll get into that.
Okay.
So the police found out that Kai had been communicating with a female fan on Facebook and was talking about going to dinner. Kai basically didn't show up for the dinner because it's Kai. And he was just, then he's later was yeah, my plans fell through. The friends I was going to stay with fell through. Can I come stay at your place kind of thing? So he met up with her. They had pictures together that they posted on Facebook, and Kai had a face tattoo, right here on his face. Sorry for the podcast people, right about the jaw.
Okay.
So he had short hair at that point, which this whole time Kai had long surfer hair. Now he has short hair, so Kai looks a lot different. So basically after that, I don't remember if they said the fan directed the police this way, but they found out Kai was going to a Greyhound bus station and arrested him at the Greyhound bus station.
Okay.
The reason why I made sure to pick Greyhound is because, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think Greyhound usually does public transportation buses as much. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think they're usually for long distance travel. So I don't know if Kai was going to get out of the area or if he was. Yeah, but they caught him at the station.
Okay.
So this is the explanation from Kai, his version of events of where they met and how this all came to be. Kai said Joseph met him at Times Square, just kind of ran into him, and said he looked lost, asked where he was going.
And Joseph is the older man.
Yes, Joseph is the victim who was murdered in his home.
Okay.
Kai said they ate and went back to Joseph's house. He said Joseph poured a beer into a glass instead of the bottle. He said he fell asleep. He basically described kind of
being drugged.
Being drugged is how he was kind of describing it. And then he said that he was essayed. He said he left, but it sounds like they confirmed or they may not have confirmed this, but they basically were didn't deny that this is how it happened. But he said that he left and he was going to go stay with friends, but that fell through. And he actually came back again to Joseph's house this day.
Okay.
So he had, according to Kai, he had been drugged, essayed, left, but then didn't have a place to stay, so went back to Joseph's again.
People are going to paint that as he was lying about the essay, or it wasn't really essay and he wanted to actually go back.
Right. And
people are going to paint that very differently than what it probably was.
And that is the first one is how I kind of got the documentary, at least, of the police officer, the prosecutors, how I thought they looked at it.
Okay.
But he went back and he said that he got essayed again. But this time he woke up. It sounded like he woke up during the act. And according to Kai, was defending himself and, started hitting the older man, things like that. And that is how Joseph was murdered, according to Kai.
Okay.
So he's telling all this to the police officers in interrogation, and he didn't have an attorney yet.
Oh.
Yeah. So I did want to note that before we got too far into it. As soon as he said maybe I should be talking to a lawyer, they're like, we're done. We can't talk anymore until you get an attorney, which I think is how they're supposed to do that.
Yes. He probably didn't know that.
Yeah. He didn't
say it before.
Yeah. He didn't know that. And he said it kind of mid interrogation. And they were kind of like, we have to stop right here until you get an attorney because you asked for one. So I think they did that right. I think from a police perspective, they're like, well, we're going to ask whatever we can, whatever you're willing to give us.
Right.
And then if you say you need an attorney, then we'll stop and we'll wait. Mm-hmm. So I think the police actually did that right in the interrogation part.
We got a lot here. We got a lot. I did not expect.
Let me give you one last thing before I ask what your opinion is on this part.
Okay.
The medical examiner looked at Joseph and said that it appeared that he had been stomped. His orbital bones were broken, so the bones kind of right under his eyes. And according to the people on that, it's really hard to break those bones. His nose had been broken. There was like a scuff mark on his ear. And when I looked online doing research later, there's more than that. There's like broken bones in his ribs, things like that. He had also made a Facebook post, and the Facebook post was basically, I think it linked an article and was basically like, do you think hunting pedophiles should be okay? Kind of thing. And so there was question of whether people thought maybe Kai thought he was a pedophile. And was trying to be a vigilante again.
Right.
That's kind of anecdotal. I don't think that came up in the case, but the fact that he posted that made people wonder and probably didn't look good in court. I'm sure people saw that in court and they're like, is that what he thought this guy was? And so he did it.
Right.
So I will pause there for a second. I will say Jessup also is, at this point, he's kind of been like, Kai's my friend. I don't think he did this.
Okay.
Right. So Jessup, this whole way has kind of been on Kai's side. And he even got a call at the beginning of the video while they were filming. He's like, this is actually Kai. And he pushed the thing and it was like, you have a call from this facility.
Oh.
And so like he's literally still in contact with Kai even in prison.
Wow.
So I do think Jessup's kind of stuck with him. I do think Jessup kind of feels like he's his friend, and I do feel like he's kind of like, I don't feel like he's capable of this, but I don't really know.
Do we know if he is found guilty or not?
Well, I guess kind of let that cat out of the bag, huh? Yeah, he is in prison.
Okay.
I will get to the sentence and all that stuff, but
Gotcha.
He was found guilty, yes.
Okay. So the court case is over, as far as right now.
Yes.
Okay.
So, go.
Whew. Woo. Okay.
Told you it was going to be a 90.
I think that Kai needs a lot of an intervention right now. I think that there is a lot of sexual abuse stuff going on. And
even if it didn't happen with Joseph, it sounds like it happened in his past.
Yeah. And I think you become violent when stuff like that happens. And like, to a certain extent, I understand. But you also have to go through the interventions and the therapy to not do this kind of stuff. So I think that Kai needs help. And unfortunately, in prison, he's not going to get that.
Probably not.
Not in America.
And he's in a maximum security prison, I believe.
It is really hard for me on these cases because I go back and forth so much. Killing people is wrong. Do we know that he did it out of self-defense? We really don't.
We really don't even know if he
know.
actually sexually assaulted him, I don't think. I mean, because
I tend to believe the victim, so...
You're right. I mean, you kind of lean that way, but I mean, when you think of the case, that's not what they were trying to prove, necessarily. Right. The prosecutors weren't trying to prove was Kai assaulted. And the defense probably was trying to prove that, but that's not what the jury was there to confirm or deny. Was he assaulted or not? So we don't know if he really was assaulted or if he wasn't. Either way, he killed him. Right. That's what he was on trial for. Right.
But, I mean, there is lesser sentences for self-defense.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, that's what the defense was going for.
Yeah.
And so it was part of it, but I'm guessing the jury either decided that it wasn't self-defense or that the act that was done maybe they thought was not self-defense, it was too violent, it was more or maybe because I think it was first degree, so they might have said the fact that he went back they felt was premeditated.
Which I have something to say about that. In the event of SA, it's always wrong. No matter what position you're put in, that perpetrator is wrong. No matter how many times Kai came back, even if he was SA'd before, he knew he was SA'd and he came back because he wanted to control the situation, or
maybe he just felt like he didn't have a choice, like he had nowhere to go.
Yeah. I mean, no matter what conscious decision Kai made to come back, if it was because he didn't have anywhere else to go or because he wanted to come back, it doesn't matter.
Right.
SA is always wrong. So that perpetrator was always wrong.
Right.
Do we know if that happened? We don't.
Right.
But that perpetrator shouldn't have done it. Yeah. Either way. So it's so hard because that perpetrator's not here to say I did or I didn't.
Right.
Likely he wouldn't say it either way. So it's super hard on cases like this.
And there's no, and same with a lot of SA cases, there's no witness.
Yeah, there's no proof.
There's no proof here. Because, I mean, Kai, when they caught Kai, obviously, Kai probably didn't even know what let's say SA kit, but I think everybody probably knows what kit I'm talking about. That wouldn't have been done on Kai because Kai doesn't know to go do that. Right. That's not so when you're homeless, that's not a thing that if that happens, you're taught to go do. There's nobody there telling you should go do that.
Right.
So there's no probably physical evidence proving that happened to him. So it's his word against Joseph's, and Joseph isn't here to give his word. So I'm sure that the court case came down to we can't verify it.
And devil's advocate here, if Kai has a lot of trauma and he went to this man's house and this man said something off color, did something that Kai didn't like, triggered that, this man could have been completely innocent in that way. Never could have done an act. And he could have just been triggered.
The judge had some strong words. He basically said that Kai was, because I guess Kai used profanity and had some outbursts in the court and things like that. And I guess the judge basically kind of said, I think he called him a powder keg, is what he said, which is basically like a loose cannon.
Oh, okay. I was like, I have no idea what that means.
Yeah. It's just like he could blow up at any time. So let's get to the verdicts, the sentences.
Yeah.
So first up is Jet McBride.
Okay.
So he was the original person who hit them with the car, started this whole story. He was found guilty of assault with a deadly weapon most likely the car, I'm guessing, is what they're saying, or if he had something in his hand.
Or his fist.
Or his fist, yeah. And he was sentenced to 9 years in a mental health facility. So he was actually pled and found insane in court. Jet was. So that was kind of interesting because the insanity plea doesn't usually work.
Yeah.
But it sounds like in Jet's case it did. And he actually should be eligible to be released this year, but I could not find where he had been released. So nowhere has confirmed that he's still in prison or that he's been released. None of the places I'd seen had an article saying that he was out. So
let's just hope that he got the help he needed.
Yeah, I mean, he went to a mental facility, so maybe they actually did treat. Yeah. And I guess his attorney said that he's come a long way in recovery.
Okay.
So maybe, hopefully Jet's doing better now and that he's not racist anymore.
Right.
That would be a nice thing to come out of a mental health facility is, treating racism as a mental illness. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Should be. Anyways.
You should lock up all the politicians.
Oh, God. Yeah. Yeah.
Some of our local police officers. Some. I said some.
Some, not all, but there are some. But
I'm going to shut my mouth now.
Yes. You're going to get in trouble.
I
am. And then I did have the police toxicology said that they just only found marijuana in his system. So.
Okay.
Just marijuana. Kai was found guilty. He is serving 57 years in a maximum security prison in New Jersey because this is where Joseph lives. So this is where they went back to after Times Square. Okay. Kai had appealed in 2021, but the appeal was rejected. He's still trying to appeal. He is eligible for parole in 2061.
Ooh.
And the judge said that when Kai is eligible for parole or when he would be released, he would actually still be younger than what Joseph was.
Wow.
So I think that was the judge's way of saying, like, you're getting off easy. I don't know. Almost like saying like you're going to have more life to live than what Joseph had at that point or something kind of like that.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, the judge was very harsh in his, I guess, matter of perspective, but very had some strong words in his statements.
I'm slightly surprised that he was found guilty. I don't know why that surprises me. I just was a little surprised there.
Yeah, I mean, my guess is the outbursts in court. We don't know what they were, but him having outbursts in court probably didn't help his case with the jury. That probably made the jury feel like and he was said to have had a short temper. So, I mean, that probably didn't, the jury's not supposed to, it's supposed to be without a reason or beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right.
But they're human too. And if they see outbursts like that, they're going to be swayed a little bit of being like, if he can't keep it together in court, who knows?
Keep it together, yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on...
Is that the end of the documentary?
That is the end of the documentary. Kai is in prison. Kai is still appealing, maintaining it was self-defense. He hasn't denied that he killed Joseph, so I think he probably did, but he is maintaining still that it was in self-defense that he killed him. So Kai is still appealing, still, trying. He did kind of almost like a message from prison where he's like, I'm a victim here. Like I was SA'd. And he's like, you're not supposed to. And honestly, I gotta say his statement there was kind of right. He's like, you're someone who's SA'd, you're supposed to let them have the right of self-defense. And I didn't get that. And so, that's the most, and I don't know if it's because he's sobered up and stuff, but it was like Kai sounded insanely intelligent there. Like for the first time in the documentary, it was just like Kai was like clear. And so I don't know if it was sobering up in prison. I don't know if he was working on himself in prison over those years or what, but you know, he sounded different in prison.
Interesting.
And hopefully he's getting better in prison. That's my hope, is he's actually, we said probably not going to happen in prison because we're not real confident in prison reform, but hopefully maybe it is actually, you know, helping him.
It happens.
Yeah. I mean, it's not that it never happens.
Right. Well, I did not expect that.
I know.
Say that. Holy crap.
When you start out the documentary, I'm sure you were like, okay, so he was found guilty that like he did something to the original guy he hit with the hatchet, or like, you know, somehow that was where he was going to get in trouble. Mm-hmm. If he got in trouble at all. But no, it's a completely different murder case at the end.
What a great story. And you told it very good. I'm excited about this one. I hope everybody likes it, because you're going to start telling stories now. I'm just going to sit back and look pretty. All right. Well, that was... okay. You tell me your thoughts after watching everything.
I have one thought that I want to say here. Okay. This is my one big point, and then I want to leave it to you to finish up and everything and to give your thoughts. Okay. But my biggest thought through this whole thing is everybody wanted a piece of Kai, but nobody wanted to get Kai help in this process at all. Maybe Jessup, because Jessup actually seemed like he liked Kai. Mm-hmm. And he actually had more contact with him, and he may have actually, they didn't say that he did, but didn't say that he didn't. But all of these people trying to get Kai on TV shows, trying to get him his own reality show, all these people that saw this behavior, nobody sat down with Kai, at least that was not brought up, that any of those people sat down with Kai and said, hey, we should get you some help to work through some of these traumas that you're admitting to us that you had. Right. There were so many, he was honest about having trauma in his past. Yeah. And maybe that did happen and it was not covered in the documentary. Maybe Kai said no, that's possible. Mm-hmm. But if it happened the way it was painted in the documentary, so many people had a chance to help Kai and didn't. And that's disappointing to me because they all wanted Kai. They all wanted him for their own personal gain. But Jessup's the only one I feel like may have actually looked out for Kai in the whole situation. And that's kind of sad.
And what was that quote he said? Everyone's deserving of love. Yeah. He was. And he didn't get what he deserved either. Yeah. Whether he's the perpetrator, victim, or anything, that kid didn't get what they deserved. Right. So.
Yeah. I mean, let's rush him to shows. Let's get him in gigs. Let's get him in social media. Let's use him for promotions. But let's not take the time to get him checked into a mental facility before he might actually murder somebody. Right. Murder, self-defense, whatever happened, he might have been in a different place. He more than likely would have been in a different place if somebody had taken him to get help and really sat down with him and said, hey, this would really benefit you. Mm-hmm. Kai could be a major celebrity right now. He gets help and gets help dealing with the trauma that he had and had some ways of coping. None of this may have happened and Kai may be a huge celebrity right now.
Or he could have went on to, help homeless people. Right. Or do great in the world.
Because he legitimately had a lot of good traits too. Mm-hmm. That was what made him so endearing, is he had a lot of good traits where he was helpful, he was kind, just had some trauma and would get easily triggered. Mm-hmm. And he just didn't get the help he needed. Right. So that's my piece. Mental health's big for me.
I want to leave it at that. I think that's the point of the story. I think
his story could have been different. Yeah. So.
And I think a lot of people's story could be different.
Absolutely. So. Well, I joke about not wanting to do this anymore. I I'm not saying never, but I just really don't think I'm going to do this a lot. Sarah does an amazing job with research, and also it's a lot.
It is.
But I may do a case here or there. I've had cases that interest me. One of the ones that interest me, I mentioned musicians and celebrities. I've always been interested in doing a case on Bon Scott, the former lead singer of AC/DC. I think that's a mysterious death at the very least. There are other cases out there similar to that. And I might do one later. We'll see. But let me know if you guys like it. Let us know if you like it.
Boo me off the stage. I'm fine with that.
Don't boo her off the stage. Just tell her you miss her. Tell her her research was so much better because she does a great job.
I don't know. I might miss all the comments of all the creepy dudes saying they want to
they like your
do
voice.
stuff to my voice.
Yeah, that was weird.
Makes me just
a little cringy.
Want to punch something.
Thanks for the views, though, I guess.
Right. Thanks for the views, but please don't be creepy. Creeps me out, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a little bit.
Anyway, we went a lot of places on that one.
Yep.
Thank you for being here.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to Drew's story. I enjoyed this format, so.
And I will say, interestingly enough, I always say peace at the end of these because I am kind of trying to do the same thing Kai was doing in the interview. Like, I want to put some good out in the world. I want to, I'm a little bit of a hippie at heart. So, and so she.
So if what you say and you put out in the world comes true, I'm going to say I want to be a millionaire every time we end the show.
I'm going for a pageant here. I'm like, I want world peace.
World peace.
I really would love world peace. I just don't know if it's attainable, but that's a whole nother video.
Yeah.
But I always say that kind of like Kai does. I do the peace thing because, yeah, as Kai said, you're all deserving of love. So peace, be kind to each other, be good to each other.
Take care of your kids.
Yes.
Please take care of children.
Mental health is important.
Yes.
Get rid of the stigma. The stigma should be the opposite. If you're not working on your mental health, then that's actually bad.
Right.
So.
Okay, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you guys. Peace.
Bye.
Hi guys, I just wanted to say I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like any of the content for Code 187, please click that subscribe button, that like button, that share button. Help us out, help us grow. You can find us on your favorite podcast platforms. Yeah, check us out on there. Give us some ratings. Tell us what you think. We're also across every social media on Code 187. So we're on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I think that's it. And of course, YouTube. So please, please, please subscribe if you like our content and spread the word. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.